Hey, yo, it's me, D.L. Hughley. Welcome back to Uncertain. Glad to have you all here. Before we get started, very sad news. James Vanderbeek from Dawson's Creek, unfortunately succumbed to cancer at, I think, 48 years old, right?
That's right.
What a kid. Like, I'm at that age now where if I went, people would be sad but not shocked. You know what I mean? They'd be like, you know what I mean? But he's 48 years old, and it's weird when you start seeing people that you saw as kids now, unfortunately, not be anymore. So big prayers to him and his family. Also to Savannah Guthrie and her family. I guess her mother, her mother is Savannah Guthrie's mother, who I've always liked. I think she's a sweet woman, a good reporter, like that kind of girl next door kind of girl. And her mother came up missing, I think, in Arizona, right?
Yes.
Who takes old people? Who does that? You got to be a special kind of sick to take, like that. Who kidnaps old people? And then what do they want? $6 million?
Yeah. Now they want Bitcoin.
The only person got Bitcoin these days is Trump. Like ain't nobody but $6 million. I mean, I love my mother a lot. $6 million. Let me speak to her, Mama. Now, you know we had a good run, right? You know, I think it's some strange things going on. I think that those are very sad events. The only thing that I'm really troubled by right now, like one of the big things, is the fact that this FBI is headed by Kash Patel, and I don't have a lot of faith in the dude that doesn't, like, I can't think of anything that's happened recently that he handled so deftly that you go, wow, we in good hands. It's like a Keystone Cops, like a Keystone Cops kind of with Saffron. It's a Keystone Cops with naan is what it is. I was so the Olympics, the Winter Olympics had just started. And what is the medal count for the United States of America? What is the medal count, Jasmine?
So the medal count is 12 right now. We have 4, I think, gold, 2 silver, and 2 bronze. Bronze. 4 gold, 6 silver, and 2 bronze.
2 bronze. And who's leading the medal count?
Leading is Norway, actually.
No, of course. It's like, how could Norway not beat us?
That's the Winter Olympics.
It's the Winter. And you know what? Here's the thing. If you want to win gold medals, you have to have black people. And black people, we're good at the Summer Olympics. We're good at shit you learn how to do free at the park.
Yeah.
Like, if you can learn for free at the park, we're going to win a gold. I'm pretty sure it's a dude that's walking around that can throw a javelin, but the police won't let him walk down. Like, what are you doing with that? What are you doing with that spear? I'm studying. I'm practicing for the Olympics. Get in the car, nigga, and shut up.
That part.
And then there was some controversy, I guess, with one of the athletes, which I think, I think that the thing about great big sporting events is that that's when the world, the attention is primarily on the event, and it's the perfect time to kind of talk about the things that trouble you. And I think we had one of the Olympians talk about how he was proud to represent his country, but he didn't necessarily agree with all the things that were going on. And I think that's as honest as you can be. He didn't denigrate the country. He didn't disparage it in any way. But I think we function under this idea that people don't have cameras and can't see what's happening here. Like, everybody sees the turmoil that's going on here. Everybody sees what's happening with ICE. As a matter of fact, when ICE was mentioned as coming to the Olympics, the world was up in arms about it to stop it. And I think that it's disingenuous to believe that nobody's going to see our kind of warts and our shortcomings, because everybody does. It's not the same world where you could pretend like nothing was going on, where you control the media. Now everybody has access to whatever media they'd like on their phone. And it's disingenuous to pretend like we're not as troubled as Americans are. I think the world sees what's happening. I think you don't have to look at just the Olympics. Look at our tiffs with our trade partners. Trying to take over Greenland. I think people might see that shit on their newsfeed. They might see what's going on. And I think when you have people who, I came to represent America, but America, you can't love a thing unless you can correct a thing or talk honestly about a thing. I think it's disingenuous to pretend like you can love a thing and it's all perfect. I don't think anybody loves this country more than black people and brown people. I think the people who has done the least for and given the least to have the most allegiance to it. Like I remember Trump was talking about, like he's spoken about shithole countries before, and they wanted people from like Norway and stuff. Norway's too busy kicking our ass in the Olympics. Why would they want to move here? Like they're not Kevin Durant who joins the Warriors. They want to whip our ass, right? And I think that the only people who are really currently going to invest in what our idea of the American dream is are black and brown people. Like they're the only people from Norway and those other countries come here to go to go to New York, they go to Disneyland, they go to LA, they go to San Francisco, they see some things and they go home. Their standard of living is much better. Why would they want to live here? The only people who will invest, who are willing to leave their circumstances, had to be people that live in circumstances that are so bad that this is their only option. People don't seem to understand. Poor brown people do our intellectual labor and poor brown people do our physical labor. So if you won't pick an apple and you can't write an app, you shit out of luck. Like people worried about artificial intelligence. Natural stupidity is way more dangerous. At least if you can develop something with artificial intelligence, you're a bright guy. Natural stupidity has fucked a lot of shit up. And of course we're talking about before we go into Bad Bunny's show, the halftime show. Shout out to Jay-Z. Because initially I wasn't sure how this partnership would work, but Jay-Z has done an amazing job bringing interesting acts that the world seems to want to see. I'm not talking about rednecks in Oklahoma. I ain't talking about them, but I'm talking about the world seems like, because it keeps topping itself. Like I think Bad Bunny's performance at Levi Stadium averaged about $128 million, which is slightly down from the $133 million that Toomey did for Kendrick. But they had 4 billion social media views within 24 hours. And shout out to MAGA, because what you did was help him. Controversy sells, and what you thought would hurt him actually became a reason to look. Jay-Z got that job because old white dudes were making the decisions about performers. And that just doesn't work. And, the league is 75% black? Like in the NFL, if you didn't have black people, that shit would be rugby. Ain't nobody gonna watch that. If it was all white people, it'd be right behind the Bass Fishing Channel. Nobody would watch it. But he garnered all this attention, I think. And Bad Bunny, I don't speak Spanish. I didn't understand a lot of what he was saying. Like I don't understand Spanish fluently, but I felt what he was saying, and I thought it was a celebration. It was great to see people dancing and families together, and it was so communal. And I wondered why people got so angry about it. Like I forgot who it was. I think the girl who was on she just got fired from Real Housewives, right?
Yeah.
She got fired from Real Housewives, right? She got because
Jill Zarin.
Yeah, which I actually don't think should have happened. I don't think she should have. I think you should be able to express yourself, and I don't think that should have happened. But ultimately, she did. And one of the things she said that I was particularly taken aback by is she said she didn't notice any white people.
To me, it looked like a political statement because there were literally no white people in the entire thing.
I wonder, did she notice there wasn't no black people in the owner's booth?
Probably not.
She didn't notice that. I heard somebody, and I forgot who it was, they were talking about how divisive and how racist that Bad Bunny was, just for speaking language. But the NFL shouldn't have hired him because he was racist and divisive. But those same people didn't say shit when they hired Rush Limbaugh, who lasted a couple of weeks, and who was actually racist and divisive. And then they get mad about everything. Why do black people have to have their own national anthem? Black people had their own national anthem for the same reason you guys had your own halftime show, because you didn't feel like you were properly represented. White people, it's so funny. They want to have not only their own halftime show, they wanted their own bathrooms, they wanted their own restaurant, they want to be separate all the time, and you have the temerity to talk about how we're a united country. And then who is this mythical figure that they talk about can bring us all together? Who is this guy that? Who is this person that we all like and we all listen to and we all agree on?
Kid Rock.
Yeah, Kid Rock. Yeah, like we should pick a less polarizing figure. Generally, if I like something, you're not going to, and if you like something, I'm not going to. That doesn't exist. What the Super Bowl has to do is to put themselves in the best position to get views, to get eyes. When the Super Bowl started, it was football fans and a bunch of people who wanted to eat and watch commercials. All that shit was based on black culture. What's up? And all that kind of stuff. All those famous commercials were culturally black people. And so it only makes sense to introduce those to people. Like Kendrick Lamar did so great and a lot of people didn't understand him. Bad Bunny did great and people didn't understand him. But ultimately, it is about getting people, because it used to be first you came to eat during the Super Bowl. Like if you ain't a football fan and the game's not interested, or it's a team you don't give a shit about, two teams you don't give a shit, two smaller market teams, I mean, these two teams were medium market. Well, Boston's a large city, Seattle's a large city, but I don't know if they're the big media hubs that a lot of places are. And the game was a defensive game, which generally isn't that interesting. What's interesting is you want to run up the score, but generally, people would come to watch the game. The football fans would watch the game. Everybody else would eat and then wait for the commercial. Well, now the commercials are shitty, so the act's got to be great. Like, you haven't seen a great commercial. Who the fuck gives a fuck about a single mother getting Doritos? Nobody cares about. Like, who cares? Like, there are no more great culture commercials. So all you can do is light it up with interesting acts that never would have traditionally made it before. And I think that everybody harps on this idea of what America is, and that's un-American. Nothing is more American than the word nigga. That's American too. Nothing is more American than racism. Nothing is more American than being separate. Nothing is more American. It used to be that nobody complained about the halftime show because they were all picked by old white dudes who owned the teams. Everybody agreed on them. And when we didn't like something, we just went to go eat. You think I wanted to see Madonna scooting around in hot pants? I didn't. Some of the acts I didn't know. But it wasn't a bone of contention to me where I felt like I had to make a big deal out of it. I knew I didn't need an ultimate and then halftime show. I got a fucking remote. Everybody has a remote. And the only reason we have a halftime show is because in Living Color, what used to be the alternate they would be the kind of alternate programming during the Super Bowl. Every time there is a cultural divide in this country, it invariably is about race. And it generally stands for the fact that from the idea that you're not quite the American you should be. That I'm more American than you. And if you're black or you're brown or you're even yellow, if you speak French, Portuguese, English, Spanish, Dutch, that's not a language that's natural to you. That is the language of the people who took over your country. If you speak any of those languages, if you speak French, English, Portuguese, Spanish, Dutch, any of those languages, you learn that from people who colonized wherever area you're from right now. And what was the most interesting thing to me, what I found ironic, is there were black people here that I saw mad that Bad Bunny wasn't speaking English. And 100 years ago, reading English would have got you killed. It literally would have got you killed. You're literally, right now, whether you're speaking Spanish, Portuguese, Dutch, all these languages, you are speaking a language that your forefathers died trying not to. So I think us having an argument about the viability of how American somebody is because they don't speak the colonizer language that I do is so hilarious to me that it just makes me laugh. It makes me laugh. And this Epstein thing is just, it's not going away. I think that one of the things that I heard, I guess one of the Republican congressmen wants to investigate Bad Bunny for what he termed a provocative performance. I think Donald Trump alluded to that. I think we have that in the verbs. He alluded to that it was not fit for children. Well, neither is molesting them. I'm not going to take advice about childcare from a dude who was on the Epstein list 1 million times. I'm not going to take advice about children and their safety and put him in the optimal position, about our dude who was at teen beauty pageants and talked about how he could walk in with half-dressed preteen girls. America has lost the right to pretend to care about children. We don't care if they're molested by powerful billionaires. We don't care if they starve because we don't give them free lunches. And we damn sure don't care if they get shot at schools. You care more about the Puerto Rican than you do the pedophile. You got your peas fucked up. But it's so disingenuous. And what we're learning is the more we see, the more insidious it is. And it's really just powerful men, powerful white dudes, because this is the province. I'm not saying black people didn't have pedophiles. We did. I'm not saying poor people didn't have pedophiles. But these pedophiles have resources. These pedophiles, private jets, and our pedophiles just waiting for your mama to fall asleep. These are it's people that are protecting them. And all the things that QAnon said that you thought were outlandish and crazy, like look at some of the terminology they had for some of the things they were doing. So grape meant sexual assault of children, right?
Yeah.
If you wanted pizza, it meant it had a sexual connection. Ain't it something? The thing, black people, we love grape soda. We don't love it that way. Please don't tell me Dorito means something crazy. Please don't tell me that. Don't tell me now or later means something. Please don't do that. But all the time that they were making these outlandish claims and you thought they were so far-fetched, it turns out a lot of them were rooted in reality. I watched one congressman. It was a female congressman. I think we have her coming back, and she was talking about how first she went to go see the unredacted files, and first she thought that it was nothing, and then when she saw it, you could see the look on her face and how horrified she was. The allegations of things that they're making, and these are the richest, most powerful men on the face of the earth, and these men have often shaped the perception of black people. They forward the notion that we were barbaric and that we were uncivilized, that we were sexually deviant, all the while doing things like this. And let's be clear, these are the most powerful men on the face of the earth. The blackest thing on the Epstein files are the redactions. That's the blackest thing. And the fact that now we have a Department of Justice and the FBI and the lot. All of these people, they redacted. Initially their charge was to make sure they redact the victims' names. But now they've redacted many of the people who could be potentially indicted in this and outed the victims. And I don't think that's an accident. Did you see the way Pam Bondi handled herself in that hearing? She feels like the American people don't deserve any answers. She feels like she can just, every time you ask her a question, she has a dossier on the people who are asking her questions. So rather than answer the question that the American people called her to answer, because you are serving, the president may have appointed you, but you serve the American people. You're supposed to be the nation's top law enforcement officer, not his henchman. And the fact that instead of answering simple questions, like I think it was a congressman, the Indian guy from I think Colorado. He asked her about the crypto unit that was investigating crypto and how many people were in it, and she would never answer it. And the truth of the matter is, she wouldn't answer it because Donald Trump is heavily invested in crypto, and he disbanded it. He made her disband it. He made her do it. And I've said this before, if you live in a blue city or a blue state, you effectively have no national representation. You don't have a president. What you have is an antagonizer. This country now, he is the president of the red state. What he does is antagonize the blue states and deride them and blame them for everything. But he doesn't represent them. I think that most countries right now who have people who are potentially involved with Epstein are taking measures to at least pretend to investigate. I think Poland, I think England. England's prime minister might get fired, and he wasn't on the list at all. But it's so unsavory to people that even the connection of it can taint you. How is it that it is in the same way here? How is it that even the people who are in Trump's orbit seem unsavory? They're a grapey lot. It's a lot of them. They are. It's a lot of people in that orbit that have taken sexual liberties with not just women but children or anybody in proximity. As a matter of fact, I watched Howard Lutnick, who was in Trump's cabinet, who was associated, who was mentioned in the Epstein list. Initially, he said that he, when he first went over, he lives next door to him, and he went over there, and he was so salacious and so fucked up that he never wanted to go over there again. And then we found out that not only did he see him 3 or 4 more times, but once he went to his island with his wife, another couple, and their children and their nannies. Who the fuck takes kids to see a pedophile? And if you did do that, first off, you lied and told us you hadn't seen him after that. That's one thing, which speaks to your credibility. But the fact that you're in the Trump administration already speaks to that. First, you said you hadn't seen him again. We find out you had. But you tell us you knew how corrupt he was. You knew how deviant he was. Who brings their children and their friends' children to see a pedophile?
Well, technically, if they're a pedophile, couldn't that just be like the equivalent of their wife swapping?
I tell you what, I wouldn't bring my kids. I don't know how you can claim to love your children and claim to be a responsible human being and put your children and other people's children and your wife in a situation where a man that repulsed you so bad, you said you'd never see him again. So it's either you're not repulsed by it, and you lied about that, or if you are, you found another reason to have to be in close proximity with. And I don't know what that would be. Not with my wife and children. That's almost like bringing your wife and like bringing your grandmother to rob a bank. But I got my grandmother with me. You act as if you put your wife and children as a buffer for whatever reason. I don't know what you were thinking, but I think at the very least, even because I think that these people are way more implicated in these Epstein files than either we will ever know. But I think that what is clearly unassailable is how tainted these men's judgment is. Why would you be around a responsible man, a man of means, a billionaire, and be around people of such ill repute? Like there was one time when Donald Trump, I guess they have a email where he called the police station and was basically glad that they arrested Epstein. But it was after he knew it happened. And even at that, he still hung out with him later on, 2019. So what is going on? At one point, any one of these allegations, even in the ether, even in the zeitgeist, would mean the end of your political career.
I mean, it's crazy when the only person who's showing judgment in the Epstein files is Nick DiPaolo.
Right. It's and what it really, the reason you know it's powerful white men, because the only person in jail is a white woman. Somebody said this, and I forgot who it was. They said, rather they will believe the emails of a dead white dude than the testimonies of all of these women. And that's where we are right now, because they don't want to. Even now, they used to be able to say, well, he's not implicated. That's a lie now. I'm not saying he did it or didn't do it, but there are people who have claimed he's done things. There are people who make claims that he a 13-year-old, that she bit him, that he spent hours with one of the victims at Jeffrey Epstein's house, that Mar-a-Lago was the hub, is where they got their victims from. So all up and through there, he's connected in a way that I think is a disqualifier.
But I also think it's worth mentioning the fact that the DOJ has gone to great lengths to investigate things that turned up absolutely nothing, like DEI practices, along with the fraud that they claim was happening in Minnesota that wasn't. Meanwhile, they have all of this evidence that points to these people who, at the very least, need to be questioned regarding the Epstein files, and they've done nothing.
Why do you feel comfortable with men like that in your orbit? Why? Because there's an old saying, birds of a feather flock together. But generally, if somebody has an aversion to what you're doing, you'll sense that and not want them around you. Like America and the United States of America and Russia, they had mutually assured destruction. You got bombs, I got bombs. We're going to both stay safe because I could destroy you, could destroy me. In that kind of relationship. And that's what it seemed like to be. But those men, nobody writes email. How the fuck did Bill Gates lose his wife over email? And during the committee, the subcommittee meeting, they brought this out. This has happened over the course of 4 administrations. They were so powerful that they could look the other way and they could function, with autonomy. They could just do what they wanted and nobody was going to do anything. And I think Trump thought it was one of those cute things to say. He had, the podcast bros who were worked up. You had, people who honestly believe, you had the QAnoners, the conspiracy theorists who really believed that some of these things was going on and turns out they were. And you promised them something, and then when you stopped, when they saw you weren't delivering, and then they see how many times they're not. Last week we talked about 38,500 times. Jamie Raskin said that Trump was mentioned in the Epstein file 1 million times. 1 million. This dude wants his name on Penn Station. He wants it on Dulles Airport. He wants it on the Kennedy Center. He wants his name on everything except the Epstein files. And now we're in a position where you have the reputation of, at one time, whether I like this or not, the FBI was one of the foremost law enforcement agency in the world. The Justice Department was the crown jewel of our legal system, of our judicial system. And it's fucked off because now they're serving this guy. And we can have whatever conversation that we like about, they're all political. No one has ever been this political. No one has ever done these kind of things. Where people, there are allegations that the 2 people that got shot in Minnesota by ICE agents, that Kash Patel stopped them from investigating it. You had a subcommittee hearing where the attorney general had the victims of Epstein looking behind her and wouldn't even look at them, wouldn't apologize to him. Her sole goal is to make sure that she pleases Trump. And I think at a certain point, I don't know that you can ever buy that back. It's going to ever that agency and those agencies are going to be compromised because their pathway to those positions wasn't that they were experts. It wasn't that they were top of the field, that they were, considered elite. It was that they were loyal and they were craven. They would do what they were told to and wouldn't question it. That's how you get that job. You're not competent. You're obedient. And all they do when they go to those subcommittees is perform for an audience of one. And I think that in the span of a year, you've watched the things that I think this nation had a right to be proud about eroded and destroyed in the service of one man's dream, one man's idea of what this should look like. And they did it willingly. And they're always making excuses for him, and they're always... But the truth of the matter is, those offices, there were Hoovers and there were people who had their ideas of the way things should go. But it is so partisan, so corrupt, and so inept. If you redact the people who victimize and you let people see the victims, then either you're inept or you're doing it on purpose.
What if they're doing it on purpose because Epstein was an Israeli Mossad agent?
I have no doubt
that Trump is compromised.
I have no doubt that you couldn't do that much. This dude won the lottery twice while he was in jail. Epstein won the lottery while he was in prison. So I have no doubt that there's something going on. One of the things that have been bounced around is that these men are so powerful and so connected and so intricate to their nations and corporations that bringing them down could bring down the system.
Yeah, to announce 6 names but no charges is crazy work, man.
I'm gonna tell you something. It is how you know they white. They're powerful white men. It's how you know, and I think, and it's how you know. Also, how you know is how ready to look the other way the nation is.
Or we want to keep the honey trap going.
We do.
Right.
Like straight up too, like if we look at the history of these type of things, like the way that the British defeated the IRA from years was just these similar types of pedophile honey traps.
Right. Who likes kids? Like any dude, like I love my children, but when they're disgusting. They are like who would look at kids and go, wow. They're anybody who was attracted to them probably didn't have them. Like, I don't think Jeffrey Epstein, did he have kids?
I don't think so.
You couldn't have kids and like them. You could not have kids and be attracted to them. You know, all their blessings, that I won't deny any of that. Kids are disgusting. Clean up behind one and you tell me you find anything in that that's attractive to you.
He apparently had a bunch of secret children.
Was he an NBA ball player?
That's hilarious. It's just Stephon Diggs.
Where does he play for the Pacers? But I've said this often before. Men who handle themselves in this manner, who comported themselves this way, where they molested children, or where they raped women, where they were exploitative, where they did all these things, is not new. It's retro. There are more men in power who've acted this way than haven't. And just like this other thing, when Donald Trump makes a meme of or reposts a meme of Michelle and Barack Obama, and he posted them as apes. If you shared that meme anywhere else in America, any place of employ in America, anywhere in America, if you showed that meme and you were laughing about it, you would get fired. You wouldn't even make it through the day without human resources coming to haul your ass out. Oh, yeah. The only way you can make a meme.
Can I have a second to delete my Twitter?
Well, delete that tank top too. Like, why you? If you got a magic button that erases shit that shouldn't be, get that. Anywhere, if you did that anywhere, what does it say that the only place you could make a meme that derogatory, that incendiary, and that disgusting, the only job you could have and still keep it when you did something like that is the Republican president of the United States of America. Because if you did as a Democrat, they would clamor for you to get out there. They wouldn't accept it at all.
Or the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan.
For sure.
Even he'd have to apologize.
I apologize, y'all.
And don't tell me that it was a staffer. You did it at 2:00 in the morning, and on Air Force One, you admitted you did it, and you're not going to fire him, and you're not going to apologize. And J.D. Vance said that he should. Here's the thing about J.D. Vance. Remember when J.D. Vance said, "I don't have to apologize for being white anymore." You might want to them brown kids you got in the kitchen. Them kids you got in the kitchen ain't part of the Geek Squad. They ain't tech support. They're your family. They're not mathematicians. They're not writing you apps. They live with you. They're your children. They're your offspring. But the fact that now everybody has to buy into this racist notion and try to explain. And when I hear black people doing it, it is, you know how bad it is when Tim Scott was offended. Tim Scott wanted to be the Republican nominee for president so bad, this dude pretended to like chicks. Even Lindsey Graham has never wanted something so bad he pretended like he liked women. He never has done that. Even Mushmouth was offended by it, and then they got mad at him. And then you have all of these people coming out and say, everybody knows what that is. Don't tell me you don't think he's racist. Tell me you don't give a fuck. There is not a job in America, name me one job in America. Donald Sterling owned the Clippers, and he said, nigga, on the answer machine at his house, he lost his job. He lost his team. The owner of the Phoenix Suns, they had a 2-year investigation to find out he said something wrong. And all you had to do was say, as he said nigga in the back, it wouldn't have took long at all. You couldn't do that anywhere else. I think it says a lot about what we are as a nation and how far we've gone. Not gone back. I'm talking about gone back. Even as racist as Reagan was, you have to hear them on recordings. He didn't do it out in the open.
Right.
You never heard nobody doing these things out in the open. I think in your house, you should be able to be as racist and homophobic and xenophobic and misogynistic as you want to be. I don't think people should. But if you say that shit out loud, then that's what you mean. And I don't understand why a dude who looks like a orangutan gonna call anybody an ape. You can't be serious. You can. This dude has let these people gas him up. I don't know what he used to look like before, but he clearly, if you put them together and you put them two together and you ask who was more the likely descendant of a primate, they wouldn't say the Obamas. And then telling us about Melania and how, you know, what I see, like I've met her before. I'm sure she's a nice woman, but let's not talk about allegedly she met her with Epstein. They say the first time they ever had sex was on Epstein's private jet.
Wow.
All I know is this. It's the only first lady who I could go on the internet and see her coochie. That's the only one I've ever seen.
Wow.
I've never seen another first lady in a thong. Never. On any level, anywhere. And that Melania movie.
Terrible.
Melania's movie was the white pootie tang. First off, anybody who knows me knows there are 3 or 4 people I despise. I despise them, and I despise them because they enable, they make it hard for people that look like me. They make it easy to be racist and disrespectful and dismissive to people that I hold in high esteem. And Van Jones is one. This is what Van Jones said.
If progressives have a politics that says all white people are racist, all men are toxic, and all billionaires are evil, it's kind of hard to keep them on your side. And so we might want to think about, if you're chasing people out of the party, you can't be mad when they leave.
I don't know if that's any of that's true, but I know Van Jones is a dickhead. I know no matter what capacity, he's a dickhead. This dude has all of the spine of a slinky. Like he's a windsock. He literally blows where the winds tell him to. He does. I've seen him cry when Trump delivered a speech. He said, today's presidential. I've seen him cry when Biden got elected. I've seen him make light of people getting killed in Gaza. Make that Diddy Joe, dead baby Gaza Joe. He said that. I remember he's one of those dudes who have an earnest looking face and wear horn glasses, but they as complicit in some of the bullshit that goes on as anybody else. And when he talked about billionaires, now I'm not saying when were billionaires ever in the progressive camp anyway? When were they ever in the progressive camp anyway? When were white men in the progressive camp anyway? Generally, wherever black and brown people are, wherever others are, they're in the opposite camp. This notion that if you just are nice to me, that you see to me, that if you don't call me names, then maybe I'll be nice to you. There are so few billionaires that actually are liberal or progressive. They keep naming the same one. Everything is Soros. Soros did everything. I didn't say billionaires were bad. The Bible did. What did it say? It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to see the kingdom of heaven. That's you know why? Because even God knew how terrible and the terrible shit you'd have to do to accrue that much wealth. It says the love of money for the love of money. The love of money. And when you see these billionaires, you see them, I'm not saying for 1 second that all billionaires are awful. But I am saying most of them are. I can tell by what you do. These billionaires would rather send a rocket into space than pay people a fair wage. They'd rather have a $50 million wedding than make sure people could eat. They would rather not pay taxes and people starve to death. They don't care if you lose your health coverage. They don't care if kids aren't funded. They don't care. Right now, 5 men are as wealthy as the half of the world put together. And they're getting richer. Donald Trump, a billionaire, wants to sue the United States of America for $10 billion. $10 billion. And he owns the entirety of the government. They're gonna settle for him and he's gonna keep that money. I am not for one instant telling you that all billionaires are bad, but I think most are. Most are. I can tell by what you do. Do you know that when this administration came into office, a million people died because USA was canceled, and they burned food rather than feed people. That just happened. You know how evil you got to be to do that? I am not saying all billionaires are bad. I'm saying most are, and I'm talking about it. It'd be a pretty high percentage of them that aren't. I'm not saying that most white men are racist, that all white men are racist. I'm saying most are. I can tell by the way you comport yourself, by the things you find important, by the things you argue about. I don't think, when we look at racism, I think that people think, you say nigga, and you say this, I think that most white guys believe that the world functions best if white men are in charge. They all believe that if a black, I'm not saying they all, but most believe that if you got something, it took it away from somebody qualified. Charlie Kirk used to say that all the time. And by the way, stop telling me Charlie Kirk is like Martin Luther King. If you believe Charlie Kirk is like Martin Luther King, then white people will name a boulevard after him they're scared to drive down. They're like, I don't go down Charlie Kirk Boulevard. I don't think all billionaires are bad. I think most are. I don't think all white men are racist. I think most are, and I think the upper percent are. I don't think all men are toxic. I think most are. I can tell by the world you inhabit. I can tell by what you create. I can tell by the things you hold dear. I can tell by what happens. If they weren't, the world wouldn't look the way it does. The country wouldn't look the way it does. We wouldn't have the lack that we do. Women would be paid fairly. Schools would be open. We'd be building stuff. We'd be building stuff just for altruism. There are very few altruistic people in this society right now. And this is how I know that everybody knows it. This iteration of billionaires and this iteration of a white dude decided empathy was a weakness. They killed empathy. The men who claimed to follow Jesus killed empathy. When Jesus sat next to Lazarus' family and cried next to them, even though he knew he was going to wake him up in a little while, like he knew he was going to wake him up, but he felt compassion for them, empathy. You can only lack empathy if you are not a good human being. You cannot be a good human being, and particularly a good steward of the people. You can't be a servant of the people. You can't serve people if you don't have any empathy for them. You can't. That's why when people go, I just want a businessman. When you argue that businessmen are the way to go, they just make deals and they say it's just business. The governance can't be that way. You have to act for the people instead. You want to represent them. But now we think it's good to kill people. And Van Jones, to me, is asking the people who are so devoid of empathy that if you're nice enough to them, they'll come back. That's why I got to say to Van Jones, this nigga here. Hey, Bloomington, Minnesota, I will be there this Friday and Saturday at Rick Brunson's House of Comedy. And then on the 17th and 18th, I will be in Atlanta, Georgia, along with my partner in crime, literally, Don Lemon. It's the Don Lemon Bell Tour. No, Don Lemon and myself will be at the City Winery on the 17th and 18th for 2 shows. And then on the 19th, 20th, and 21st, I will be in Arlington, Texas at the Improv. So come check me out. Hey, we're going to see you next week, man, on Uncertain. It's D.L. Hughley. Uncertain. See you next week.